Long time no see. Welcome back to the XRP podcast.
I am so happy to be back, and today I will be bringing you the Xahau Node episode. The Evernode update has come out, which means that people have less than 2 weeks to update their Evernode hosts to private Xahau nodes. If they don't, they risk losing rewards and getting kicked off the network. Running a decentralized network isn't free, and the Evernode network has seen a sharp boom in activity, so this is completely understandable. And this will actually benefit both the Evernode network and the Xahau network as well in the long run. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your own Xahau node. But right before we get into this video, I actually have a special announcement to make. As of I think it was the 6th of March, I went fully 100% full-time YouTube, all right? So YouTube is my full-time gig now. I'm so grateful to you guys for that, and because of that, I'm actually doing a giveaway. I'm going to be giving away 8 prizes of $100 USD. It doesn't cost anything to enter. All you have to do is be a subscriber of mine and fill out the Google form in the description. Just search for giveaway Google form or something like that. I don't know, I'm bad with labeling these things, but it'll be hard to miss. Check the description. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast, and I am praying every day for what the future will bring. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the video. Take care. In my opinion, it's really not a complicated process, and you don't need much. You will need a VPS, and you will need one with much higher specs than the one you use to make an Evernode host. The second thing you will need is a domain name, and the last thing you will need is an email address. That's it. Do not run your Evernode host and your Xahau node on the same VPS server. If you don't have a VPS and you need one, Ayo Doja, one of my subscribers, great guy, he showed me this website called Contabo where you can get servers for cheap. If you'd like, you can still get a server through Cloud Fanatic. Just use their hybrid version. It costs about $77 a month. Again, that does support the podcast, so thank you. But Contabo is like half off, so you can't complain. If you choose to get a server through Contabo, then I suggest you go for their Cloud VPS 4 option. That's because you do want the large RAM, you do want the large storage, you really want the extra cores for the CPU as well, especially if you are going to be connecting a lot of Evernode hosts to your Xahau node. In this video, I will be using Cloud VPS 5 in order to create the Xahau node, since I will be serving this node that I'm creating in this video to the greater community, to my subscribers, if they wish to use it. For software, make sure your server is running Ubuntu 22.04. So besides a VPS server, the next thing that you're going to need is a domain name. Once again, you can get your domain names through Contabo through their customer portal. If you go down here to where it says domains, simply all you have to do is click domains, and then you can register a domain like xrppodcast.de. Don't do that. That's my shtick. And then just simply set it up that way. You could also use pork bun like we used in the Evernode host video, because pork bun is super cheap too if you want to get your domains from there. By the way, if you don't have an Evernode host, if you don't have a Xahau node, I make tutorials on stuff like this all the time. You can check out the XRP podcast, my YouTube channel, for more videos like this and tons of great content, free airdrops, and more to make money through crypto. So, once you have your domain name, once you have your VPS server, the last thing you need is an email address. Remember, it's got to be a public email address. It can be the same one you use for your Evernode hosts, or it can be a different one. It really doesn't matter. Just remember, it will be public. Once more, we will need a command line interface client. What I like to use is an app called Termius. I use Termius in my Evernode host video as well. If you do want to use Termius, I will leave a link in the description. But otherwise, you can use other apps like Putty. You can also use the client that comes with the VPS server through Contabo or Cloud Fanatic. In the description, there's also a link to buy Sync and stake Sync for 15% off staking fees at Syncus DAO, a treasury backed DeFi ecosystem that recently has done like, I don't know, 10x so far. It's going crazy. It's going crazy. You can also enjoy a APY of 224% on your stake Sync, and the borrowing and lending platform is actually live now. You can borrow and lend USD, Bitcoin, and Ethereum at insane APY rates, and soon you'll be able to borrow and lend against your Syncus tokens as well. If you'd like to buy Sync, if you'd like to use any of the links to any of the free airdrops, all of that goes a long way towards supporting the podcast and allowing me to do this long term now. Thank you. But like I said, I want to keep this brief because it really doesn't take long and I don't want to drag this out. Luckily, this one does not require you to actually use your cell phone for the setup process, and it requires no cryptocurrency at all. Once you have your Contabo VPS server purchased, I want you to come down here to where it says VPS control and simply click it. When you are setting up your Contabo VPS server for when you're purchasing it, this time you want to make sure that your server is set up with Ubuntu 22.04. I do believe that you can set this up on Ubuntu 20.04 as well, but everybody that I've talked to and that I've seen, they've been setting their Xahau nodes up on Ubuntu 22.04. So I'm just trying to follow best practices that way. Again, remember, you will be running a node, so uptime is essential and voting on amendments are essential as well. Keeping your Xahau node and your Evernode host up to date are both essential as well now, especially with the new Evernode update coming out that makes changes removing the auto update feature. All right. You gotta be on top of these things. So, this is a real responsibility. Otherwise, you risk getting your node kicked off both networks. And if your Xahau node goes down, then all your Evernodes go down at once. So, it's paramount to be on top of updates and keeping up with infrastructure and security. I just want you guys to be safe. If you're not confident that you can do this, or you just don't want to, then you can get a Xahau node through me or through any other third party vendor providing these services. But I would recommend myself, of course. I'm shilling for myself. And also, I'm giving you guys a pretty good deal here, in my opinion. So now let's just get right into the process. So, in order to set up your node, once you have your VPS, the first thing you want to do is actually hook your VPS server up to your domain name. So, you're going to go back to Porkbun and you're going to go to domain management once again. Once you are under domain management, you want to simply hit details under the domain that you just purchased, and then you're going to go to DNS records. Under DNS records, you want to hit edit, and then you will scroll to the bottom and you'll see that there's an alias and a CNAME. Once again, we're just going to delete these. These do not matter. We're going to create one A address record and two CNAME records. If you don't know what those are, don't worry. Just follow my lead. And I really encourage you to just pause and go through this video step by step. That way you can do it all in one shot and you don't have to spend any time frustrating yourself, because I will give you the entire perfect process. You want to come back here to Contabo and you want to highlight your server's IP address. Once you have your server's IP address, you're going to go to where it says answer and you're going to copy paste it in and you're going to press add. Now you can see there's one A address. So you'll only need one A name. And then after that, you're going to come back and you're going to select CNAME. And for the answer column right here, you're going to copy and paste your domain name into the answer part. And in this host column right here, you're going to enter WSS and press add. We're going to make one more CNAME. So we're going to copy and paste the domain name right here in the answer column once again. And now we are going to add the host name RPC. And we're going to press add. So you should have three things down here. You should have one A address and two C names, one with the subscript WSS and one with the subscript RPC. So once you've connected your domain name to your virtual private server, once you've made sure your virtual private server is running Ubuntu 22.04, if it's not, by the way, you can just go to Contabo, you can just hit reinstall. And after doing that, it'll ask you what operating system you want to use. And it's really as simple as that. It's very simple. But you'll want to go to Termius and we want to connect to the server. So now that we are in Termius, we're going to go to the host column. In the host column, I'm simply going to select a new host. In the new host panel, I'm going to copy and paste the IP address for my new virtual private server for the Xahau node. After that, I'm going to add my username as root once again. When you're setting up a virtual private server with Contabo, they give you your password via email. So you'll want to check your email for the password to the virtual private server. If you're using Cloud Fanatic, it will be on the virtual private servers page. All you have to do is just simply go down to that page, scroll there, click it, and you'll see it right there. And now that I've copied and pasted it, we're going to connect. Actually, I'm going to label it. Before we get started with any of the commands that you will need to use, I will be including a Google Doc once again with all the commands necessary and in the right order for you to use. Everything will be in the description, along with links to some airdrops. You know what I'm going to say. Links to some airdrops, as well as links to staking on Syncus DAO and using code XRP to save yourself 15%. So, for all your information and for all those great, free, wonderful things, just check the description. The Google Doc will be labeled Xahau. So, just look for Xahau in the description and you'll find it. All right. So, I've connected. And now that I'm connected, before I do anything else, the first thing that you want to do is you just want to make sure that your virtual private server is updated. That way, we don't run into any hiccups or errors during the setup process. In order to do this, all we're going to do is type in sudo apt update, and it'll update for us. We'll just give it a minute or two. Perfect. And after we do that, the next thing that we're going to want to do is just reboot the server. That way, all those updates can apply, and we will be ready to start our Xahau node installation. So sudo reboot, you can do it that way, sudo reboot, or you can also just go to your virtual private server page and simply click the restart button. Right before I get into this, I have to give a major thank you to Go 140.6 because he essentially compiled all these steps together that INV for Feed 2020 set up. So thank you guys. Thank you, Wheats Wind. Thank you, Wojake. Thank you, Base God. Thank you, XRP community. Our server's rebooted. We're going to reconnect. And now that we've reconnected, we are good to get started. You're just going to, once again, go to the description. You're going to enter the Google Doc I have there. I've labeled it Steps to Set Up a Xahau Node Google Doc. So just click that. And it's going to have all the commands that I'm typing in on the screen for you to see. I don't want you to change the casing. I don't want you to change the format. I simply just want you to use the commands that I use and just go through it step by step along with me in the video. So the first command we're going to use is cd. All these first commands we're going to use are just to actually clone and download the Xahau Node software onto our VPS server. So first it's the cd command, and then it's the apt install git command. We're just going to press yes when it asks us. We'll give it a moment to install that command. Now that we have git installed, we're just going to copy and paste this line right here, git clone. And that's just going to download the Evernode software for us onto the virtual private server. After we use that command, we're going to the next step, cd Xahau Node, and we're going to press enter. Then we're going to go to step 5 and simply copy and paste that too. Again, very simple so far. So the next step is very important. This one is the one that you actually want to focus on because we're going to enter in all our domain name information as well as the email address that we want to use. So you want to go to the next line of code that I have in the Google Doc. It's nano Xahau Node, xahnode.vars. And once you copy and paste it and press enter, you will enter this file right here. In this file, there's a whole lot of junk I don't want you to worry about. All I want you to do is scroll down to where it says user domains. And under user domains, you're going to enter in all the domain names that you set up on porkbun.com. All right. So when you were on Porkbun, you set up your A name and you set up your two C names. So you're going to enter it in the order that you set it up in. So you're going to enter in the A name first, and then the first C name, which should be the RPC C name. So the one that has the subscript RPC, comma, then the one that has the subscript WSS. It's very important that you do it in this order and make sure you're using commas and not spaces. Otherwise, you will run into issues. Now that we have all our domain names entered, again, you want to just check the spelling of everything because if you get even one thing wrong, you will run into errors and glitches. The next thing you're going to want to do is come down to here to where it says cert email, and you're just going to enter in the public email that you want to use for renewing your SSL certificates as well as getting reminders for any updates. Once you have everything filled, you just want to make sure you double check everything. And once you've double checked everything, you want to use commands Control O and then press enter in order to save everything that you just wrote. Again, I'm using a Mac, so those are the commands for me. I'm not sure what the commands are for Windows, but just play around and try it out. So once you've made sure everything is saved, you just want to use Control X in order to exit that file. Once you've exited the file, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to the Google Doc, and then you're going to then go to the next line of code. This line of code is going to install a Xahau mainnet submission node onto your system, all right? So once you have the line of code set up .sh mainnet, press enter, and the install process will begin. If you've done all the previous steps perfectly, you should run into no errors here. If you do happen to run into a pink screen where it's complaining about the kernel, that means that you need to actually go back. You need to run the command sudo apt update, and then you need to reboot your VPS server. If you run into any issues or hiccups during this, I would just rerun the setup script again, and you should be okay. If you find that you keep running into hiccups, then what I would actually like you to do is I'd like you to go back to Contavo. I'd like you to go to your virtual private server page, and I'd like you to just reinstall the operating system and start from step 1. Now that our Xahau node has been installed, the software is up and running. Now we just need to configure it in order to make sure that our Xahau node is working. And then after configuring the Xahau node and making sure that it is working, we are going to connect an Evernode host to it. And then I will also show you the setup process for the Evernode side on what you need to do as an Evernode host in order to connect to any Xahau node. So when you're using the script that is in the Google Doc in order to set up a Xahau node, a firewall essentially comes pre-installed. That way, not just anybody can connect to your Xahau node. They need to be on your approved IP address list in order to do so. So first things first, we're going to configure our IP address allow list file. It's also known as the nginx file, but I want to put this in layman's terms for everybody who's watching this. What we plan to do is first, we're going to make sure that our IP address for both the computer that we're accessing our VPS from and the IP address of the VPS are on the allow list. And then I will also show you what you need to do to add another IP address for an Evernode host or another device to access your Xahau node as well. So, what I need you to do next is I need you to go back to the Google Doc and you need to go to the next step of code that's being used in this video here. And then after doing that, simply press enter. So inside of here, as you can see at the top, there's the server names that we included, the A name, the RPC, and the WSS. Ignore that as long as that looks good. That's okay. I want you to scroll down to where it says location slash with the bracket, with the curly bracket. All right. I want you to go down there and go to the list where it says allow. In this allow list, you should have two IP addresses here. If you don't, then you need to fill out one of the two. You're going to have to either fill out the source IP address. The source IP address is the IP address that you're accessing the virtual private server from. You can find it at the top of your terminal whenever you open a new session. If you want to find this, you can just duplicate the window and then you'll get the IP address. Just grab the IP address and then copy and paste it. And then just make sure it has the IP address of the virtual private server itself. It's the same one that's going to be on the page for Contabo. It's the same one that's going to be on the page for Cloud Fanatic if you're using them or if you're using any other VPS provider. But you absolutely, absolutely, absolutely must have the IP address for the device that you're accessing the VPS from, and then the IP address of the virtual private server itself. You must. When you're punching this in, just do it in the exact same format as I'm doing on the screen here. Don't do anything fancy. Once you've completed this, good job. I am so proud of you, but it's not over yet. I want you to scroll down and you will find another section that looks the exact same that says location and has an allow list as well. All right. I want you to make sure that both IP addresses are in that section too, because both sections pertain to different ports that you can connect to, that you can access the Xahau node through. So it's essential to have the IP address for all devices, whether they're an Evernode host or not, on both lists. You can add as many Evernode hosts as you'd like to a Xahau node. You just have to ensure that your Xahau node can support it. But for the most part, the average Xahau node that you set up using a VPS4 or a VPS5, if you're using Contabo, will be more than enough to handle 99% of cases. If you are going to add an Evernode host in here, you want to make sure you keep it above this line that says deny all. If you write any Evernode hosts that are under this deny all line right here, then the computer, the node won't be able to tell that you're trying to connect another Evernode host to it. But like I said, everything looks good in here right now. So I don't think there's any problems. We just wanted to make sure and verify that everything looks good in here and it's correct and as it should be. And I also wanted to show you how you can set up your Evernode host in the future. And I will show you that process in this video, but for now, we will press Control X to exit. So after that, the next thing that we're going to do is just make sure that the nginx script that we just edited first off is properly formatted. We're just going to test it to make sure that the program can read it. After that, we're going to just try to actually reload and run the nginx program to make sure that it allows all our IP addresses through. In case you get an error here, I will give you steps on how you can resolve it because this will probably be your biggest frustration, your biggest barrier to actually setting up a Xahau node. So you're going to head back to the Google Doc and you're going to grab the next piece of script to enter into your command line interface, into Termius or Putty or whatever you're using. It's going to be sudo nginx -t. Just look at what I have on the screen. So we've confirmed that the syntax is okay. So now you're going to go back to the Google Doc and you're going to run the following command. The following command will just reload the nginx service. After it's been reloaded, we're going to actually try to start the nginx service. And this is where I ran into error after error after error. And I was ripping my freaking hair out. The first absolute solution that I recommend you do, if the test said your script is okay, I want you to just reboot your server. All right. Just use sudo reboot command or go to Contabo or go to Cloud Fanatic and reboot it. If your script is okay, 9 out of 10 times, this will resolve your issues. If you're still having issues after this, then there is an issue in the way that you formatted your IP addresses, or maybe your finger slipped and you accidentally clicked something that you shouldn't have and messed with the code in the nginx document, in the Xahau document that controls the nginx firewall, where you place all those IP addresses. If so, I need you to go back in there and check there. Because if you don't have that file perfect, you'll run into issues. But also after that, after editing that, just make sure for the first time, just make sure that you reboot your device after this, or you could run into issues. As that was one of my biggest problems with making this video and with setting up a Xahau node for the first time. Once you've done that, simply run the script to start nginx once again, and it should be successful. All right, so if you've made it this far, you've done pretty much 90% of the work. All we have left now to do is we're just going to make one small edit to the Xahau file. So we're just going to enter in the next command on the Google Doc, and then you press enter and it'll take you here. So I need you to scroll down to where it says port RPC public, and then you're just going to change under the IP section equals 0.0.0.0. Remove the first 0 and add 127 there instead. After that, simply save it and exit the file. So now you're just going to go back to the Google Doc and you're going to grab the next script. The next script is going to restart your Xahau node so that the changes that you made can actually take effect. After you do that, you're going to run the Xahau_server_info command. That'll make sure that your server is on and functioning as it should be. But more importantly, you can confirm that it's running. So from this point on, if you scroll up, you will see a server status, and under server status, it'll either say connected or full. If you see either sign, if you see either label connected or full, you're good to go. If you see anything else, you have some issues, restart from the beginning of this video. I appreciate the watch time.
Thank you, bitch.
All right, you're pretty much swagged out. So now we want to get to the moment of truth. We want to test the WebSocket, the doorway that we will use for our Evernode hosts to access the Xahau node and connect to the Xahau server, the Xahau network. So we're going to run the following command in order to download a testing kit, and then we're going to run the test. And after that, we will connect Evernode host to the Xahau node and confirm everything is running. So the software has been downloaded. So the next thing I want you to do is go back to the Google Doc and find the wscat command. In this wscat command, you're going to copy and paste it, and then you're going to fill in your domain name with the WSS subscript. So just do it exactly like how I am doing it on the screen. After you do that, you should press enter. You should see connected here. All right. If you don't see connected, if you don't see this green sign where it asks you to press control to quit and connected, then that means you need to go back and edit the Nginx file because once again, you have an issue in there. That file is absolutely crucial, and if you do not get it correct, nothing will work. Your Xahau node can be operational, but nobody can connect to it, not even you. If you have set it up correctly, congratulations, because you have a perfectly functioning Xahau node that is live on the Xahau network, and you're contributing to the decentralization of the XRPL ecosystem. I'm so proud of you. Well done. Let's stop kissing our own asses though, and let's get an Evernode connected to this Xahau node and get to the part everybody wants to see. So to do this, we're going to enter the sudo nano command, and then we're going to enter in the directory to the Nginx file. Everything is done in here. That's why it's so important. You're going to scroll down to the allow list, and just remember there are 2 allow lists inside of this file, okay? So you want to make sure you do it for the top one that you see, as well as the bottom one that you have to scroll down to see. When you are in this Nginx file and you're adding in a new Evernode host, all you need to do is get the regular IP address, the IPv4 address, and simply copy paste it, and then you can grab it, and then you can add it to your Nginx file. When you are adding it to the Nginx file, if you do want to label it, if you have a lot of hosts and you want to label them, that's fine. But don't be like me and label them and forget to include the hashtag. You see what I'm doing on screen right here? I forget to write the hashtag. And because I did that, the program, when it's reading that for instructions, it thinks the label is part of the code. And because of that, when I run the Nginx test, now I have an error that pops up. So if you are going to label it, I want you to make sure that you always include a hashtag before you start writing any normal text. If you ever want to write any normal text to leave yourself reminders or labels or anything, just have that hashtag in front of it and it will save you miles and miles of pain. This is a very basic thing, but if you forget it, it can be a very cruel mistress to deal with. So now that we've corrected all our labels, we are just going to Control O in order to save and then Control X in order to exit. After that, we're going to run the Nginx test script again. I'm just going to copy and paste it from what I have. And now it says the syntax is okay. You see the difference? So now all we have to do is reboot the Nginx. Boom, we gave it a reboot, and now we will make sure it's running. Boom, it's still running. We are good to go. So anytime you add a Evernode host to your Xahau server, you don't have to reboot the entire VPS, but you do have to reboot the Nginx for it to take effect. For best practices too, if you are going to be making major edits, I would recommend rebooting the entire VPS at the end just to make sure there's no errors. Now, with the new Evernode update, updates are not manual and you have to apply an update script. The traditional Evernode update script won't work. So I have it included in the Google Doc for you. Simply copy and paste it from there. But make sure you update your Evernodes. Make sure you update them. Otherwise, you're going to have issues connecting to these Xahau nodes that you're building. And you will also risk losing your Evernode rewards in the future and possibly your rights to run an Evernode host at all. All right. If you do have an Evernode host, you can subscribe to their GitHub and you can be notified every time a new update comes out for you to update your Evernode host from now on. You can also fill out my Google form that I'm going to have in the description, and that'll place you on my email list. And anytime an Evernode host update comes out, you will be notified. You will also be notified anytime that I release a new video or any other pieces of information or great opportunities that could help you out in the future. All right, now that we have our Evernode host updated, what you're going to do next is you're going to go to the last script in the Google Doc, and you are going to copy the Evernode config Xahau command. And in the WSS section, you're going to add your WSS CNAME once again. Just follow what I'm doing, but replace XRP podcast Zahau.1 with your own domain name and then press enter. If you've done everything correctly, then it should start the reconfiguration. By the way, they misspelled that on the they misspelled configuring on the message board. But after a couple seconds, it'll go through and you'll get the regular Evernode's host status screen. It'll also show you a country code now. My node has about 6 instances running currently, I believe. So I'm more than sufficient for the current network requirements. But the prerequisites now for the Evernode network is that if your Evernode host has less than 3 instances, then you will be penalized for that. So just make sure that your Evernode host follows the minimum spec requirements for the network. So the Evernode team has included a bunch of new features in this update as well. So some of those new features include an ability to just completely deregister your host directly without needing to actually install the full Evernode software. If you want to use that script, I will include it in the document as well. I'm not going to run it for obvious reasons. I don't want to deregister my host. You can also change your max transaction fee now during the installation or configuration of an Evernode host, or through the command line interface as well. That way, during periods of network congestion, you can still get your transactions through, and it's not an issue of missing heartbeats or anything like that, or anything that could potentially damage the reputation of your host. Another feature I would really like to highlight right now, though, is the Fallback Xahau support. This is a game changer and an absolute banger. Thank you, Scott Chamberlain. This ensures uninterrupted connections through a fallback Xahau server. So let's say you're someone who has access to 2 Xahau nodes. That way, in the event that your primary Xahau node goes down, then you can access your fallback one and you can stay online when others aren't, and you can collect even more Evers rewards during these periods of downtime. You call it a period of downtime. I call it a period of great opportunity. It's all about perspective.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, son.
In order to take advantage of this, it's very simple. You got to have access to 2 Xahau nodes, and you got to make sure both are configured properly. If you do get a Xahau node through me, or you get both through me, I actually provide a fallback node as well for you to use. But all that would need to be done on the node side is you just want to make sure that the Evernode host is on your node list in the nginx file for both of these Xahau nodes. On the Evernode side, in order to set it up, then you would simply go to your Evernode host that you want to add a fallback to. All right, so I have this one right here, and I simply add the server URL. So it's going to be just like when I was adding the server URL for the initial Xahau node. I'm going to enter in my WSS for my backup server, and I should actually figure out what the domain name is for that too. I'm using an Evernode that I already have connected to a different Xahau node of mine. So I'm going to connect it to the Xahau node that we just made in my how to set up a Xahau node video. And I'm going to have that set up as the fallback node for this Evernode host. The setup is exactly like setting up a connection to a Xahau node. It's just now you have a fallback in the event of server maintenance or downtime or anything that happens. You can always be up. You can always be generating rewards. So that's everything you need to know about the new Evernode update in terms of how you will be updating from now on, how you can keep your server, your Evernode host active even during periods of downtime, and how you can change the Xahau node that you connect to. Again, if you would like to connect to one of my Xahau nodes, all you need to do is stake on Syncus DAO with code XRP or use the code in the description. Simply fill out the form, include the screenshot, as well as the amount of IP addresses you'd like me to add onto my Xahau nodes, and your connection will be live and active within 24 hours or less. Besides that, all you need to do is just run the Evernode status command just to confirm that you're online. Anytime you make some changes to your Xahau node, let's say you add other IP addresses for other Evernode hosts that you have, you can add as many Evernode hosts at once. All right. Just make sure that you always run the test command and make sure that you reboot the Nginx every time. Each time you do this, there will be a little bit of a stutter. So just give it a couple seconds and then just check your Evernode hosts, check the ones that you already have running, just to make sure everything is still working perfectly and you will be good to go. Remember, it's always better safe than sorry. The last thing I'm going to show you in this video is I'm going to show you how to update your Xahau node for future updates, because Xahau node updates aren't automatic like Evernode ones used to be, okay? So in the Google Doc, I'm going to have a section entitled Update. All right, so this is going to be a set of scripts that you can always use for when you want to pull the latest update of Xahau, just when you want to update your node. And all you will have to do is simply just replace the build number, the release number, the version number. You'll see it on the page. Simply replace that portion whenever a new release is out and you will be good to go. I will also try to keep that part of the Google Doc live as well at all times. That way, if anybody is looking at this video in the future or in the past somehow, then you can always have a resource that is up to date to look forward to. So anyways, I'm going to start running the commands now. The first command basically just gives you a directory to go to. The second command essentially downloads it. And then the third one's extract it, install it, etc., etc., etc. Blah, 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 blah. You don't really care. What you do want to care about is you want to always make sure that you restart Xahau.service. Remember, the command is sudo system control restart Xahau.service. And then you just want to check and make sure your Xahau node is connected. That way, when you update, you minimize any possible downtime and you don't potentially risk your Evernodes going down as well in conjunction with it. Always check the release number as well, just to make sure you're always downloading the latest version of the Xahau Node software. As you can see, the server status says connected. The server state says connected, so we are good to go. I'm going to try to ping my Evernode right here. It will say it's down. That's normal. Just give it a couple seconds and then just simply run Evernode status again, and you should see that the regular prompt comes up. If you don't get the regular prompt, that's when I would restart the VPS. And then again, if you're having issues, then I would switch to your fallback server for your Evernode hosts. That way you can actually do some proper diagnostics on your Xahau node without impacting the uptime of your Evernode hosts. If you do have issues, I recommend always checking the Nginx file because it is so crucial. And then you can just run the wscat command once more just to make sure that everything is functioning and proper in that end too. And that the WebSocket, the doorway to your Evernode host, is live. The doorway to your Xahau node is live. Oh my gosh. So I'm just going to run Evernode status once more. And we are good to go. Wow. So that is everything you need to know about setting up a Xahau node. That's everything you need to know about connecting an Evernode host to a Xahau node. That's everything you need to know about the new Evernode update. And now I think I'm done. If you would like to support the podcast, I'm going full time with the podcast now. I'm officially not doing any other thing. I'm doing YouTube full time now. So wish me luck, guys. I'm going all in at 888 subscribers. I like the numbers, so I said, fuck it, why not? If you'd like to support the podcast, you can buy and stake Sync with code XRP using the link in the description. You can click any of the airdrop links. You can also now get access to a Xahau node by staking with code XRP and filling out the Google form for Xahau node registration in the description. And Beyond that, I would just like to say thank you so much. My life is changing so fast. That's part of the reason why has taken so long. I'm just going through a huge period of changes in my life right now. And I'm ready for what life is going to bring me. I'm excited. I feel joy in my heart, and I'm glad to be here with all of you. During my downtime, many of you have been contacting me both through Discord and on Twitter, telling me so many great things, telling me how excited you guys are about the podcast, how excited you guys are for me and the choices that I'm making, how the podcast has actually influenced your life and helped you financially, emotionally, relationship wise. You know what I mean? Having new people to connect to. I love this podcast so much, and I'm so grateful for all of you because I feel like we are growing into a real community. I want us to be close. I want us to support each other, and I want us to help each other any way that we can. That's why I'm also going to be doing a giveaway. If you fill out the Google form, even if you aren't interested in a Xahau Node from me, if you fill out the Google form, then you will be eligible for 8 prizes of $100 USD. All right. So if you would like to win $100 USD, you don't have to stake with my code if you don't want to. All you need to do is simply fill out the Google form, and then I will upload it, or I'll do it live somehow. I've never done anything live before, so maybe I gotta figure that out. But you will be eligible to win a prize. You don't have to pay for anything. Just fill out the form and I got you. I appreciate you so much. I love you, and I can't wait to see what life will bring. God bless you. Be well, be safe, take care.